Have you ever noticed how some people seem to step into your life precisely when you need them most, as though they were sent by the universe for a specific reason? Perhaps you've met someone who instantly felt familiar, as if you've known them for years, even though it was your first encounter. Or maybe there have been times when a fleeting interaction with a stranger left a lasting impact, shaping your thoughts or decisions in unexpected ways. Such moments often leave us wondering, are these experiences random, or do they carry a deeper meaning? Is there an invisible thread connecting us all, weaving together the tapestry of our lives in ways we cannot fully comprehend? Think about the relationships you've had in your life. Some people stay by your side through thick and thin, becoming pillars of strength and comfort. Others appear briefly, like shooting stars, leaving behind lessons or changes before moving on. And then there are those who challenge us, even hurt us, but in doing so, help us discover our inner strength. Each of these encounters is significant, contributing to the mosaic of who we are. In today's journey, we'll delve into the profound wisdom of Buddhist teachings to uncover why no meeting in life is accidental. Each person we meet plays a role in our growth, sometimes as a guide, other times as a lesson. You will come to see that every encounter, whether joyful or challenging, carries with it the potential to transform us. So, take a moment to relax and settle into this exploration. Stay with us until the end, because what you learn today may change the way you view the people and experiences in your life. You will gain clarity on how these encounters are not just random moments, but essential pieces of a grand, interconnected design. But before we begin, we'd like to invite you to subscribe to our channel, turn on notifications, and share this video with others who may benefit from its wisdom. By doing so, you'll not only support us in creating more content to uplift and inspire, but also become part of a community dedicated to spiritual growth and deeper understanding of life's mysteries. Let's embark on this journey together and uncover the hidden significance behind the people who cross our paths. People in our lives. In a serene temple nestled amidst the cherry blossoms of the countryside, a young man named Hiroshi approached monk Hataka, a wise and revered spiritual guide. The air was fragrant with the bloom of spring, and the sound of rustling leaves blended harmoniously with the distant chirping of birds. Hiroshi bowed deeply, his face filled with curiosity and uncertainty. "Master," Hiroshi began, "why is it that with some people, I feel an immediate and profound connection, as though we've met in another life, while with others, I feel discomfort, as though their presence brings negativity into my life? It confuses me. Are these connections mere chance, or is there something greater at play?" Monk Hataka, who had been meditating under a cherry tree in full bloom, opened his eyes and smiled gently. "Dear Hiroshi," he replied, "no one enters your life by accident. Every encounter, whether fleeting or lasting, joyful or painful, has meaning and purpose. These connections are not random. They are threads in the intricate tapestry of existence, guided by the law of karma and the interdependence of all beings." Hataka rose slowly, gesturing towards the vast expanse of the blue sky. "Observe the birds overhead, dear friend. Do you think their flight is random? No. They are guided by unseen currents of the wind, just as our lives are guided by forces beyond our understanding. Each person who crosses your path is like a messenger from the universe, here to teach you, challenge you, or support you in your journey." The young monk listened intently as Hataka continued, weaving a profound metaphor to illustrate his point. "Imagine your life as a garden," Hataka said, his voice carrying the calm certainty of wisdom. "Every person you meet is like a seed planted by destiny. Some grow into beautiful flowers that bloom for a season, bringing color and fragrance to your life before withering away. Others become mighty trees that stand by your side, enduring through storms and seasons, offering shade and strength. But every seed, whether it flourishes briefly or for a lifetime, contributes to the growth and richness of your garden." Hiroshi reflected on the various people he had encountered in his life, the fleeting acquaintances who had left an impression, the friends who had stood by him in his darkest hours, and even those who had caused him pain. "But Master," he asked, "why do some people hurt us? Why do their presence feel like sharp thorns rather than soft petals?" Hataka nodded, his expression filled with empathy. "The people who hurt us," he said, "are often our greatest teachers. They are like the sharp stones on a mountain path. While they may cause us pain, they also force us to grow stronger, to find our balance, and to discover our inner resilience. Without challenges, we would not grow. The Buddha himself faced trials and betrayals, yet he saw these as opportunities to deepen his compassion and wisdom." Hataka then gestured to a towering tree nearby. Its roots spread deep into the earth, anchoring it firmly despite the gusts of wind that shook its branches. "And then there are those," he said, "who appear in our lives just when we need them most, like the roots of this tree that hold it steady in the storm. These people offer support and solace during life's challenges, but like the seasons, they may leave once their purpose is fulfilled. Their departure does not diminish their significance. It simply means their work in your life is complete." Hiroshi thought of a dear friend who had been a source of strength during a turbulent period in his life, only to drift away once the storm had passed. Though he had often wished for that person to stay, he now saw their role in a new light. Finally, Hataka said, his eyes shining with wisdom, "There are those who remain with us for a lifetime. They are the fixed stars in our sky, friends, family, or soulmates who journey with us through all the seasons of life. With them, we share not only the burdens of our struggles, but also the joys of our successes. These bonds remind us of the enduring nature of love and connection." Hiroshi smiled, feeling a sense of gratitude well up within him. He realized that every person he had encountered, whether they had brought joy or pain, had contributed to the mosaic of his life. Hataka placed a hand on Hiroshi's shoulder and looked deeply into his eyes. "Recognize and appreciate every person who crosses your path, dear Hiroshi. Each one is an essential part of your story, just as you are a part of theirs. Life is an intricate web of interdependence, and each encounter contributes to the wholeness of your existence. This understanding is the essence of Buddhist philosophy, the interconnectedness of all beings, bound together by karma and the shared journey of growth and awakening." Hiroshi bowed deeply, feeling a profound sense of peace and clarity. As he walked away from the cherry tree, he resolved to view every encounter in his life through the lens of gratitude and mindfulness, knowing that even the most fleeting interactions held the potential to shape his path. Helping without being asked. In a tranquil Buddhist monastery surrounded by ancient trees and serene gardens, Monk Noro gathered his disciples for a lesson that would touch the core of their spiritual understanding. The day was peaceful, with sunlight filtering through the leaves, creating dancing patterns on the ground. The young monks sat in attentive silence, their curiosity piqued as Noro prepared to share one of his profound teachings. "Master," one disciple began, "why is it that sometimes, when we try to help others, things go wrong? Despite our best intentions, our actions seem to create more harm than good. Shouldn't helping always lead to positive outcomes?" Noro, with his characteristic calm demeanor, nodded thoughtfully. "It is natural to feel the urge to assist others," he began, "but helping without being asked can disrupt the natural order of life and the delicate balance of karma. While our intentions may be noble, unsolicited help often denies others the opportunity to grow, learn, and overcome their challenges." To illustrate his point, Noro recounted a story from the monastery's lore. "Many years ago," he began, "there was a young monk who was eager to prove his kindness and wisdom. One day, he saw a fellow monk struggling to carry water from the well. Without hesitation, the young monk rushed to assist, taking the bucket from the other's hands. At first, his action seemed helpful, but in doing so, he deprived the struggling monk of the opportunity to develop his strength and patience. Later, when greater challenges arose, the struggling monk found himself unprepared, having not built the resilience needed to face life's difficulties. Noro paused, allowing his disciples to reflect on the story. "You see," he continued, "each person's path is shaped by their own struggles and triumphs. By intervening without invitation, we risk disrupting the lessons life is trying to teach them. Just as a butterfly must struggle to free itself from its cocoon to strengthen its wings, so too must we allow others to face their trials and emerge stronger on the other side. The disciples nodded, absorbing the wisdom of his words. To help you understand further, Noro added, I will share another story. In a distant village, there were two friends, Ash and Masu. One day, Ash discovered that Masu was facing severe financial difficulties. Without consulting his friend, Ash secretly paid off some of Masu's debts. Although Ash's intentions were good, his actions had unforeseen consequences. Masu, feeling ashamed that his personal struggles had been revealed, began to distance himself from Ash. Furthermore, the unsolicited help deprived Masu of the opportunity to resolve the situation on his own, stunning his growth and creating tension in their friendship. The monks murmured softly, exchanging glances of understanding. Remember, Noro said, our lives are guided by karma, the universal law of cause and effect. Each individual is responsible for navigating their own karmic journey. When we interfere without being asked, we tamper with this balance. It is not only their growth we hinder, but also our own. We create a ripple in the karmic web, often with unintended consequences for both parties. To deepen the lesson, Noro shared a metaphor. Life is like a river, and each of us is a small boat navigating its currents. When we jump into someone else's boat uninvited, we disrupt their course and may even cause both boats to drift aimlessly. Instead, we must trust the river and allow others to steer their own path, offering help only when they signal for it. One of the disciples raised a hand and asked, Master, does this mean we should never help others unless asked? Noro smiled gently. Not at all, he replied. Compassion is central to the Buddhist path. However, true compassion requires wisdom. Before offering assistance, pause and reflect. Is this help truly needed? Have they sought my aid, or am I imposing my will upon them? Often, the best help we can give is to hold space for someone, to listen, to encourage, and to trust in their ability to overcome their challenges. The lesson concluded with a profound reminder. When you feel the urge to help, practice mindfulness. Observe the situation carefully and wait for the person to invite you into their journey. By respecting their autonomy, you honor their path and allow them to cultivate their own strength and wisdom. As the disciples dispersed, they carried Noro's teachings in their hearts, resolved to approach their acts of kindness with greater awareness and humility. They now understood that true help is not about fixing others' problems, but about empowering them to find their own solutions. Toxic relationships. In a quiet Buddhist monastery nestled in the heart of a remote Japanese valley, the wise and elderly monk Hogai sat under the shade of a towering maple tree. His reputation for offering profound wisdom had spread far, and seekers often came to him with the most pressing matters of the heart and soul. One such seeker was a young woman named Kiera, who carried a heavy burden of confusion and sadness. She approached Hogai with a deep bow and a hesitant voice. Master Hogai, she began, I feel lost and drained. There are people in my life who bring chaos and hurt, yet I struggle to distance myself from them. I don't know if I am being unkind or if it is they who are truly harmful. How can I recognize those who may harm my peace without judging them unfairly? And how do I protect my heart without becoming cold? Hogai looked at her with kind, compassionate eyes and gestured for her to sit beside him. My dear Kiera, he said softly, it is not always easy to see the truth of others' actions, for they are often hidden beneath layers of their own suffering. But if we are mindful, we can discern the signs of toxicity without losing our compassion. Let me share with you the wisdom that has been passed down through the teachings of the Buddha. Hogai began by making an important distinction. The people we call toxic are not monsters, he explained. They are often individuals shaped by their own pain, fears, and challenges. Before we distance ourselves from them, we must first ask, why do they behave this way? Is their harm intentional, or are they acting out of their own wounds? Compassion is the foundation of all actions, but so too is wisdom. Once you understand their nature, you must decide how to preserve your inner peace while offering kindness in the ways that you can. Kiera nodded, her curiosity growing as Hogai began to outline the 9 signs of toxic relationships. 1. Manipulation. Imagine, Hogai said, a person who distorts reality to serve their own interests. They may twist words, deceive, or use emotional tactics to control your decisions. Such manipulation, though often subtle, can deeply erode your trust and sense of self. He shared the story of a villager who lost an opportunity because of a friend who planted doubts in his mind, all to gain an advantage for themselves. Manipulation, Hogai concluded, is like a hidden weed in your garden. It must be carefully identified and removed before it spreads. 2. Lack of empathy. Some people, he continued, are indifferent to your feelings or experiences, showing interest only when it serves their purpose. They dismiss your emotions, leaving you feeling unheard and insignificant. Hogai described a scenario where a young monk sought comfort from a companion, only to be met with cold indifference. A lack of empathy, he said, is a warning sign of someone unable or unwilling to connect with the humanity in others. 3. Habitual conflict. There are those who thrive on discord, Hogai said. Like a storm cloud that follows wherever they go, they stir up arguments and strife, creating a toxic atmosphere that drains everyone around them. He told of a group of villagers whose harmony was repeatedly disrupted by one person's constant quarreling. Such individuals, Hogai explained, cannot find peace within themselves and seek to spread their unrest to others. 4. Overbearing control. Some people will seek to dominate your choices, he said, steering your life to suit their desires. This is not love or care. It is control masquerading as concern. Hogai illustrated this with the story of a craftsman whose partner continually belittled his dreams, pushing him to abandon his passions in favor of their own plans. Control, Hogai warned, is a chain that binds your spirit. 5. Boundary violations. A toxic person may frequently disregard your personal boundaries, invading your space or ignoring your need for solitude, he said. This leaves you feeling vulnerable and disrespected. He likened this to a river whose natural flow is disrupted by unwanted debris. Boundaries, Hogai said, are the banks that guide the river of your peace. Protect them. 6. Chronic dishonesty. Lying, Hogai said, is the tool of those who wish to manipulate or deceive. Whether through exaggeration or outright falsehoods, dishonesty erodes trust and creates instability in relationships. He shared the story of a merchant who was deceived by a business partner, losing not only wealth but also his faith in others. Honesty is the foundation of any meaningful bond, Hogai remarked. 7. Vindictiveness. Beware of those who seek revenge for perceived slights, he said. They harbor grudges and retaliate, no matter how small the offense. This creates a cycle of negativity that poisons relationships. He recounted the tale of a monk who, after correcting a peer, faced months of subtle retaliation. Forgiveness is a virtue, Hogai said, but not all are capable of it. 8. Attention-seeking. Some people crave constant validation, he continued. They dramatize situations or create chaos to draw focus to themselves, draining the energy of those around them. Hogai told of a young villager who disrupted gatherings with exaggerated tales, exhausting those who listened. Such behavior, he said, hinders true connection. 9. Avoiding accountability. Finally, Hogai said, a toxic person often refuses to take responsibility for their actions, blaming others instead. This refusal to reflect or change perpetuates harm. He shared a parable about a farmer who blamed his tools for a failed harvest, never acknowledging his own negligence. Accountability, Hogai concluded, is the cornerstone of growth. Kiera listened intently, her heart heavy with recognition, yet uplifted by the clarity Hogai's wisdom brought. The lesson of compassion and boundaries. Now that you know the signs, Hogai said, remember this. Awareness is your first step, but compassion must guide your actions. Before you distance yourself, seek to understand why a person behaves this way. If they are open to change, offer your kindness and support. But if their presence harms your peace and growth, it is not unkind to walk away. Protecting your well-being is an act of self-respect and wisdom. Kiera bowed deeply, her heart lighter with the understanding that boundaries could coexist with compassion. She thanked Hogai, vowing to approach her relationships with greater mindfulness and courage. Reflection. Hogai's teachings remind us that while compassion is vital, it must be balanced with discernment. Recognizing toxicity is not about labeling others as bad, but about honoring our own peace and fostering relationships that nurture growth and harmony. In the words of the Buddha, true love and compassion begin with the self. Forgiveness. In a serene monastery nestled high in the Indian mountains, monk Kyomin, known for his profound understanding of Buddhist teachings, was approached by a man burdened by unseen woes. The man's shoulders were heavy with the weight of guilt, and his voice trembled as he spoke. Master Kyomin, the man began, bowing deeply. How can I truly learn to forgive in the Buddhist way? I carry the pain of past wrongs, both those I have committed and those done to me. It feels as though I am trapped in a cycle of regret and resentment. Kyomin, with his compassionate gaze, gestured for the man to sit beside him under the shade of a Bodhi tree. Forgiveness, he said softly, is not merely an act of absolution. It is a journey toward inner liberation, a process of releasing the burdens of the past and embracing the present moment with clarity and peace. Let me share with you a story, one that illustrates the essence of forgiveness in its truest form. The man leaned forward, his heart eager to grasp the wisdom Kyomin was about to impart. Many years ago, Kyomin began, there lived a prosperous merchant who had 2 sons. The merchant prided himself on his business acumen and his family's wealth. But as the sons grew older, they became drawn to the teachings of a wandering sage, the Buddha. They left behind the comforts of their home to follow the spiritual path, renouncing material wealth in pursuit of enlightenment. The merchant, feeling abandoned and betrayed, harbored deep resentment toward the Buddha. He believed that the sage had stolen his sons and ruined the legacy he had worked so hard to build. Over time, his anger festered into hatred. One day, determined to confront the Buddha, the merchant traveled to the village where the Buddha was teaching. When he arrived, he found the sage seated in meditation, surrounded by disciples. The Buddha's face was serene, his eyes half closed, radiating a peace that was both disarming and profound. The merchant's anger surged as he approached. He spat on the Buddha, an act intended to humiliate and provoke. The disciples rose to defend their teacher, their indignation evident, but the Buddha remained unmoved. He opened his eyes and smiled gently at the merchant, his expression untainted by anger or judgment. The merchant was taken aback. He had expected retaliation or at least a harsh rebuke, but the Buddha's calm response unsettled him. He turned and left in a flurry of confusion, unable to reconcile his actions with the sage's reaction. That night, as the merchant lay in bed, the image of the Buddha's peaceful face haunted him. He replayed the events in his mind, and his anger began to dissolve, replaced by shame and remorse. He realized that his hatred had consumed him, blinding him to the truth of his own pain and shortcomings. Days later, the merchant returned to the Buddha, this time with humility in his heart. He knelt before the sage and said, "Forgive me, Master, for I acted out of ignorance and anger. I see now that my actions were wrong." The Buddha, with a serene smile, shook his head. "There is nothing to forgive," he said. "You have done me no harm. Your actions reflected the turmoil within your own heart, not mine. Forgiveness is not something I can give to you, for it is not mine to give. It is something you must find within yourself." The merchant looked up, confused. "But, Master," he asked, "if you do not forgive me, how can I find peace?" The Buddha replied, "True forgiveness is not about absolution from another. It is about releasing yourself from the chains of the past. When you let go of your anger, guilt, and shame, You free yourself to live fully in the present. Forgiveness is an act of compassion, not just for others, but for yourself. Cumin paused and turned to the man before him. "Do you see now?" he asked gently. The Buddha's wisdom lies in recognizing that forgiveness is not a transaction between two people. It is a transformation within oneself. The merchant did not need the Buddha's forgiveness. He needed to forgive himself. Only then could he find peace. The man nodded slowly, the weight of his burden beginning to lift. Cumin continued, "When you hold on to anger or guilt, it is as if you are clutching a burning coal, hoping to throw it at someone else. In the end, you are the one who gets burned. Forgiveness is about dropping that coal and choosing not to carry the pain any longer. It does not mean forgetting or condoning what happened. It means acknowledging the past and choosing to release its hold on you." The man bowed deeply, gratitude shining in his eyes. "Thank you, Master," he said. "I now see that forgiveness is not something I must seek from others, but something I must cultivate within myself." Reflection and lesson. Cumin's story reminds us that forgiveness is a profound act of inner liberation. It is not about absolving others for their actions, but about freeing ourselves from the pain and resentment that tie us to the past. In Buddhist philosophy, forgiveness is a practice of compassion and mindfulness, a way to break the cycle of suffering and find peace within. As Cumin often taught his disciples, when we forgive, we do not change the past, but we transform our relationship with it. Forgiveness is the gift we give ourselves, opening the door to a brighter, more compassionate future. The balance of kindness. In a quiet Japanese monastery surrounded by misty mountains and tranquil streams, Kiera approached the wise monk Ero, her heart weighed down by disillusionment. The air was still, broken only by the rustling leaves and the distant hum of a flowing brook. "Master Ero," Kiera began, her voice trembling with emotion, "all my life, I have tried to be kind and generous to those around me. I give without expecting anything in return, yet I feel used, invisible, and drained. What am I doing wrong? Is kindness a flaw?" Ero gazed at her with a gentle smile and gestured for her to sit beside him. "Kiera," he said softly, "kindness is a virtue, but like all virtues, it requires balance. When kindness flows without boundaries, it can become toxic, harming not only you but also those you wish to help. Let me share with you a story that has been passed down in our teachings, a tale of a village, a tree, and the lesson of balanced generosity. The tale of the cherry tree. Ero began. Long ago, there was a prosperous village nestled within a lush forest. At the heart of the village stood a magnificent cherry tree, its branches heavy with blossoms in spring and fruit in summer. The tree symbolized the villagers' spirit of generosity, as its shade and bounty nourished all who came to it. In the early days, the villagers cared for the tree with great respect. They watered its roots, pruned its branches, and ensured that its soil remained rich and fertile. In return, the tree flourished, providing beauty, sustenance, and shelter for years. But over time, the balance was lost. Some villagers began to take more than their share, gathering the tree's fruit without gratitude or care. They stopped tending to its roots, assuming the tree would always provide. Gradually, the tree began to weaken. Its blossoms grew sparse, its fruit bitter, and its once strong branches brittle. Ero paused, his eyes meeting Kiera's. "This," he said, "is the danger of unchecked kindness. When generosity is exploited, it loses its vitality. Just as the cherry tree withered under neglect, so too can our spirits when we give without boundaries or care for ourselves." The wisdom of balanced generosity. Kiera listened intently, her heart resonating with the story. "But Master," she asked, "how can I be kind without losing myself? Isn't selflessness the essence of compassion?" Ero nodded. "True kindness," he explained, "is not about self-sacrifice to the point of exhaustion. It is about giving from a place of strength, where your generosity uplifts both yourself and others. Balance is the key. Let me offer you a few lessons from the cherry tree's tale. 1. Tend to your roots first. Just as a tree needed its roots nourished, Arrow said, you must first care for yourself. When you prioritize your well-being, your kindness becomes sustainable. Otherwise, you risk depleting your energy, leaving little to give. He shared a teaching from the Buddha. You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. 2. Set boundaries with compassion. Boundaries, Arrow continued, are not walls but guiding rivers for kindness. They allow you to say, I will give, but not at the cost of my peace or values. When you set boundaries, you teach others to respect both your generosity and your limits. 3. Recognize the needs of others without overstepping. Arrow then shared a parable of a farmer who overwatered his crops, believing he was helping them grow. In his eagerness to give, Arrow said, he drowned their roots, causing harm instead of nurturing. Sometimes, the best kindness is allowing others to struggle and grow in their own way, rather than doing everything for them. 4. Give without attachment. Kindness, Arrow said, is most powerful when it is free of expectation. Like the cherry tree offering its blossoms to the wind, give without clinging to how your kindness is received. When you give freely, you remain at peace, regardless of the outcome. 5. Balance giving and receiving. Generosity, Arrow concluded, is a harmonious exchange. As you give, be open to receiving, whether it is rest, gratitude, or kindness in return. This balance ensures that your spirit remains nourished and strong, just as the cherry tree needed the villagers' care to thrive. Kiera's reflection. Kiera sat in quiet contemplation, her heart lighter and her mind clearer. She realized that her kindness, while well-intentioned, had lacked balance. By neglecting her own needs and setting no limits, she had allowed others to take without giving back, draining her spirit. Master, she said, bowing deeply, thank you for this wisdom. I see now that kindness must flow both outward and inward, like the breath that sustains us. I will strive to be like the cherry tree, offering my generosity while tending to my roots. Arrow smiled. Remember, Kiera, he said, true kindness is not measured by how much you give, but by the joy and strength it brings to all, including yourself. When you give wisely, your generosity becomes a source of endless light, nourishing both you and the world around you. Reflection. Arrow's lesson reminds us that kindness is a powerful force, but it must be balanced with self-care and wisdom. In Buddhist philosophy, generosity, dana, is one of the highest virtues, yet it is guided by mindfulness and compassion for oneself and others. As the Buddha taught, before giving, the mind of the giver should be happy. While giving, the mind of the giver should be made peaceful. And after giving, the mind of the giver should be uplifted. When we practice balanced generosity, we ensure that our kindness becomes a lasting source of peace, growth, and harmony for all. Recognizing harmful intentions. In a quiet Buddhist monastery nestled among the Japanese mountains, the wise and elderly monk Aizen gathered his disciples in the warmth of the temple hall. A pot of tea simmered gently nearby, its fragrant steam curling into the cold winter air. The disciples sat attentively, eager to hear the teachings of their revered master, who was known for his profound understanding of human nature. Aizen began, his voice calm but resonant. Today, we will discuss a topic of great importance: how to recognize those who may bring harm to your life. Just as a gardener must identify and remove weeds to protect the health of their plants, so too must we learn to discern the harmful intentions of others while cultivating relationships that nurture our peace. The disciples exchanged curious glances as Aizen continued. There are signs, subtle and overt, that reveal when someone seeks to harm us, whether intentionally or through their own unresolved pain. Let me share with you 8 such signs and the lessons they carry. The 8 signs of harmful intentions. 1. Manipulation. Aizen began with a tale of a sage who owned a rare and precious gem. One day, he said, a cunning man approached the sage, pretending to admire his wisdom. As they spoke, the man distracted the sage with flattery and stole the gem. replacing it with a shard of glass. He paused and turned to his disciples. Manipulation, he explained, is like a shadow that distorts reality. Those who seek to harm us may use deceit and cunning to control our actions for their gain. Protect yourself by seeing through the illusions they create and trusting your intuition. 2. Destructive criticism. Imagine a flower garden, Eisen said, where instead of nurturing care, the plants are repeatedly trampled upon. Over time, the garden withers. He continued, destructive criticism is like those heavy steps. It crushes our self-esteem and dims our light. Beware of those who constantly judge and belittle, for their words are not meant to guide, but to break your spirit. 3. Social isolation. There was once a fisherman known for his kindness and skill, Eisen shared, but an envious rival began spreading lies about him, turning the village against him. Soon, the fisherman found himself alone, shunned by all. Eisen looked at his disciples with intensity. Isolation, he said, is a powerful tool of harm. Those who wish to control or weaken you may seek to cut you off from your support systems. Maintain your connections and stay vigilant against efforts to divide you from those who bring you strength. 4. Defamation. Words, Eisen said, can be sharper than swords. A spiteful tongue can wound reputations and sever trust. He shared a parable of a merchant whose business was ruined by false accusations spread by a competitor. Defamation, Eisen explained, is a poison that seeks to tarnish your integrity. Always act with truth and transparency, for a clear conscience and virtuous actions are your best defense. 5. Sabotage of opportunities. Eisen told of a craftsman who was on the verge of success. Each time he neared a breakthrough, someone sabotaged his work. His tools disappeared, his materials were damaged, and his plans unraveled. Sabotage, Eisen said, is like a wind that extinguishes the flames of your progress. Those with harmful intentions may create obstacles to keep you from flourishing. Guard your ambitions carefully and share your plans only with those you trust. 6. Violation of privacy. In an ancient city, Eisen began, there was a keeper of secrets who was betrayed by someone who invaded his private sanctuary to steal his knowledge. Eisen's gaze grew serious. Your private thoughts and spaces are sacred. Those who violate them seek to uncover vulnerabilities to exploit. Protect your boundaries and be mindful of whom you let into your inner circle. 7. Espionage. Eisen told of a virtuous warrior whose rival sent spies to learn his every move. The warrior, through his keen intuition, discovered the deceit and thwarted their plans. Espionage, Eisen said, is not always literal. It can manifest as prying questions, disguised curiosity, or persistent monitoring of your actions. Be aware of those who seek to know too much without genuine care or purpose. 8. Physical aggression or threats. In a remote valley, Eisen said, amongst virtuous actions threaten the interests of a powerful man who resorted to violence to silence him. Eisen's voice grew firm. Physical aggression is the most overt sign of harm. When someone resorts to threats or violence, protect yourself and seek help. Your safety and well-being are paramount. The lesson of awareness and protection. Eisen leaned forward, his voice filled with both compassion and resolve. My children, life is an intricate dance of connections. While many will guide and uplift you, some will cast shadows that threaten your peace. Recognizing these signs does not mean living in constant fear or mistrust. Instead, it is about cultivating awareness and discernment. Remember, even those who seek to harm us are often acting from their own pain and ignorance. Approach them with compassion, but protect your inner peace. Boundaries are not walls. They are the guardians of your well-being. The disciples nodded, their hearts filled with gratitude for Eisen's wisdom. Reflection. Eisen's teachings remind us that while compassion is a cornerstone of Buddhist philosophy, it must be paired with awareness and self-respect. Protecting our inner peace is not selfish, but necessary for a life of harmony and growth. As the Buddha taught, in the end, only 3 things matter: how much you loved, how gently you lived, and how gracefully you let go of things not meant for you. By recognizing the signs of harm, we empower ourselves to nurture relationships that bring light and let go of those that cast shadows. The value of few friends. On a crisp autumn morning, as golden leaves swirled gently in the breeze, a young woman named Elena climbed a winding path to a secluded monastery on the outskirts of a small Japanese town. She had heard of monk Kobo, a hermit known for his wisdom and profound insight into the human heart. Elena's heart was heavy as she reached the monastery gates. She often felt alone in her bustling village, watching others laugh and bond with groups of friends while she sat on the sidelines. With a deep bow, she approached monk Kobo, who was meditating under a tree whose roots spread wide into the earth. "Master Kobo," Elena began, her voice tinged with sadness, "I feel lonely. I look around and see others surrounded by friends, sharing joy and laughter. Yet, I have few people I can call my own. Is there something wrong with me? Why can't I find the connections that others seem to have so easily?" Kobo opened his eyes and gazed at Elena with kindness. "My dear child," he said gently, "friendship is indeed a precious gift, but true happiness does not come from the number of friends you have. It comes from the depth and authenticity of the connections you nurture. Let me share with you why having few friends, or even none, can be a blessing rather than a burden. The freedom of solitude." Kobo began, "When we are alone, we are free. Free to explore our thoughts, pursue our passions, and discover the essence of who we are without the influence of others. Solitude is not loneliness. It is an opportunity to turn inward and find the strength and joy that already resides within you." He gestured to the tree beneath which they Saturday. "This tree grows tall and strong, not because it leans on others for support, but because its roots reach deep into the earth. Similarly, solitude allows us to grow strong within ourselves, untethered by the expectations of others." Elena reflected on his words, thinking of the quiet moments she spent stargazing, moments when she felt most at peace yet often judged herself for being alone. Quality over quantity. Kobo smiled and continued, "Many people surround themselves with countless companions, but how many of those connections are meaningful? Would you rather have a room full of acquaintances, or one friend who truly understands your soul?" He shared a parable about a villager who collected stones, always seeking more to fill his sack. "The weight of so many stones burdened him," Kobo said. "But when he took the time to choose only the finest, most precious gems, he found his load lightened and his journey brightened." Relationships are like those stones. It is the quality, not the quantity, that enriches your life. Focusing emotional energy. Having few friends, Kobo said, also allows you to focus your emotional energy on deeper, more meaningful connections. True friendship is a bond that requires time, care, and effort to flourish. When you invest in fewer relationships, you can nurture them with the attention they deserve. He spoke of a monk in the monastery who had but one close companion. Though their circle was small, Kobo explained, the depth of their connection was infinite. They shared joys, sorrows, and growth in ways that a crowd of companions never could, avoiding the chaos of crowds. Kobo then shared another insight. Large groups can often lead to conflict, competition, and superficiality. By keeping your circle small, you preserve your peace and protect yourself from the chaos that often comes with too many connections. He told of a young monk who struggled to please everyone in a large group of peers, losing himself in the process. When he let go of the need to belong to the crowd, Kobo said, he found a small but loyal circle that allowed him to thrive. The gift of solitude for growth. Solitude, Kobo said, is also a gift for personal growth. When we are alone, we can explore our passions, develop new skills, and grow spiritually without distraction. It is in these quiet moments that we often discover who we truly are. He gestured toward the monastery's library, filled with scrolls and texts. Many of the greatest teachings come not from groups, but from the silence of solitary reflection. Use your time alone to nurture your mind and soul. and you will find that loneliness transforms into empowerment. Friendships that transcend time and distance. True friends, Kobo added, are like stars. Even when they are far away or unseen, their light remains constant. You may not have many friends, but the ones you do have will remain with you, transcending time and distance. He told of a merchant who traveled across distant lands, but remained close to a single friend through letters and memories. It is not proximity that defines friendship, Kobo said, but the bond of mutual respect and understanding. Elena's realization. As Kobo finished, Elena felt a weight lift from her heart. She realized that her loneliness was not a reflection of her worth, but an invitation to grow, to seek depth over breadth, and to embrace the strength found in solitude. Master, she said, bowing deeply, thank you for helping me see that few friends, or even none, is not a loss but an opportunity for greater authenticity and growth. I will cherish the connections I have and use my solitude to deepen my relationship with myself. Kobo smiled warmly. Remember, my child, he said, your happiness is not measured by the number of people around you, but by the richness of the life you create. Embrace solitude as a companion, and you will find that it leads you to the truest friendships, both with others and with yourself. Reflection. Monk Kobo's wisdom teaches us that the value of friendships lies in their authenticity, not their quantity. By embracing solitude and focusing on meaningful connections, we cultivate a life of peace, growth, and fulfillment. As the Buddha once said, an insincere and evil friend is more to be feared than a wild beast. A wild beast may wound your body, but an evil friend will wound your mind. When we prioritize quality over quantity in relationships, we honor ourselves and the sacred connections we choose to nurture. In life, we are all presented with challenges and relationships that shape our experiences. Whether these moments are filled with joy or sorrow, they are never meaningless. Each of these experiences offers us valuable opportunities for growth, learning, and self-discovery. The way we approach and handle these challenges has the power to define our journey and lead us to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Through the wisdom we gather from the teachings of mindfulness and Buddhism, we learn to navigate life's complexities with grace and patience. Wisdom helps us see beyond the surface and understand the deeper truths of our existence, allowing us to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively to life's trials. Setting boundaries is an essential aspect of maintaining balance in our lives. It enables us to protect our energy, maintain our peace of mind, and nurture our well-being. By understanding our limits and communicating them clearly, we create a space for ourselves that is grounded in respect and self-awareness. At the same time, it is the cultivation of meaningful relationships that truly enriches our lives. Relationships are not merely about companionship. They are opportunities for mutual growth, compassion, and understanding. By connecting with others in authentic and loving ways, we open ourselves up to experiences that can teach us invaluable lessons and bring us deeper joy and fulfillment. When we embrace wisdom, set healthy boundaries, and cultivate meaningful relationships, we create a sense of harmony in our lives. Harmony allows us to move through the world with greater ease, less stress, and more peace, no matter what challenges arise. It is through these practices that we can truly experience a life of balance, understanding, and fulfillment. As we conclude today's video, remember that the path to wisdom and harmony begins within you. By embracing life's challenges as opportunities for growth, by setting boundaries that honor your well-being, and by nurturing meaningful connections, you are already on the path to a more balanced and fulfilling life. Thank you for watching, and may you find peace, wisdom, and joy on your journey. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe for more content on mindfulness, wisdom, and Buddhist teachings. Leave a comment below with your thoughts or any questions you may have. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, take care and stay centered.